Corinthians is the biggest club, in Brazil, so, pressure is always there. The expectation of winning is always there, and, it's not going to happen, all the time, but, from what I've heard, the fans will sing all game, win, lose or draw. So for me, I enjoy the pressure, I enjoy the expectation. I've done it in my past before, and like I say, I've come here to help the team and win trophies for the fans. Yeah, I've heard and I've seen many videos of Corinthian fans, home games, and I just want to be, like I say, I'm hungry, I'm motivated to be out there, and obviously trying to, be on the pitch with the boys and enjoy the atmosphere. I heard the atmosphere is, crazy out there, and like I say, at half time, I'm sure it'll be a special feeling for me to finally see the fans and embrace the fans, and them to embrace me as well. I spoke to Memphis a little bit, just about the club and how the club is, and I've always known Corinthians to be, the biggest club in Brazil. So, for me it was a no-brainer, to come here, and since I've been here, I've seen how big the fan base is, how passionate the fans are, which is amazing to see, and I'm really motivated to be on the pitch with the boys and help them win. Yeah, I don't mind physical, I think that's one of the biggest competitions to play in, so for me it's as a player you want to be playing in the biggest games against the biggest players, so this competition is really important for obviously me and the team to win, but I don't mind physical. I played in the Championship, Premier League, went out to Korea, and all them places are physical as well. But since I've been in Brazil, it's a lot more intense. Especially in training. I've seen it's very intense. But I enjoy the challenge, and I'm going to enjoy this journey. Yeah, I've seen it on social media a lot, and I don't know. Maybe he seen me do it, and obviously his initials are JL as well. So yeah, it's for me, I don't mind. He can do it if he wants. But like I said, I did it first. But yeah, it's up to him if he wants to do it. But it will always be mine. I think the amount of trophies that Corinthians won, I think it's amazing to see. I knew the Corinthians was a big team, before I came, but visiting the museum, I realized how big it is and how many trophies, and what the history is of Corinthians, and I think it was 23 years from 1977. That's when they won a trophy. I only learned that. I didn't know before I picked my number that happened. But there's a lot of history around the Corinthians, and like I say, you want to create more history by being here, by winning trophies, and like you say, you want to leave a legacy here.